Good morning, everyone. Maybe it's a little bit afternoon. Full of energy for a high-level discussion on the healthcare sector. Come on, everyone. Okay, so today is a very interesting panel discussion, right? So if you open any news item or news today, it is more about something happening in the healthcare sector. Somebody doing some good innovation, trying to address some medical issues, or hospitals expanding in a very large way. So we have seen even in the Hyderabad ecosystem, we have, HES is growing very fast, AINU, AIG hospitals opening new branches, then Kim's Hospital, Continental, Yashoda is going for an IPO. So you have a lot of growth coming in, right, from across the healthcare delivery sector. So today's panel, what we wanted to discuss is how is the growth coming? What are the different things impacting the growth? And really, what is the innovation and at the same time, AI bringing some of the growth and how to sustain that growth. So that's the discussion today. Just to give a broad context for a few members who are not very aware of the healthcare sector, there are around 43,000 hospitals, 43,000 hospitals in private sector in India, then around 23,000 hospitals in the public sector, with the total bed of available in India is around 1.8 million. And around 1.1 is in the private sector and 0.7 million is in the public sector. And every year, approximately, I think 20,000 beds to 30,000 beds are getting added into the sector. So there's a lot of growth, and private equity investments, approximately 1 to 1.5 billion is moving into this sector. So there's a lot of investment coming into the growth story. And so we wanted to understand today a little bit from the panel. I'll introduce the panel shortly. What is the growth and what is the innovation and how is AI going to impact the future going forward? So today we have on the panel Mahadevan Narayan Muni, or Mahad, is a senior analyst at TPG Capital, one of the world's largest private equity firms with over 100 billion in assets under management. He focuses on healthcare and lifestyle investments, including Healthier MedTech and Care Hospitals. Mahad also co-founded AknaMed, a tech-based driven hospital supply chain platform backed by LGT Lightstone Capital. He's an alumnus of IIT and also IIM Lucknow, and he brings more than 15 years of investment experience. Thank you, Mahad. Thanks for taking time to be on this panel here today. Kiran Gadela is co-founder of Oasis Fertility. Today, you are around 30 centers across India, 35. I think the number is increasing, which is good. 35 centers across India. He's a first-generation entrepreneur with over 25 years of experience. Kiran has spent the last 15 years building the Oasis business from the ground up into a premier, healthcare delivery center. Before founding Oasis, he led a large-scale technology transformation projects for investments bank in London, and a background that fuels his passion for blending healthcare and tech. And I believe you also have a health tech company as well. So it's a delivery and health tech experience that he's bringing on board here. And Sandeep serves as CEO of Asian Institute of Nephrology and Urology. I think they raised a lot of fund from TPG Capital as well, and other firms, and planning to make it a 20 center very soon. So Sandeep brings a lot of experience on clinical side and operational efficiency. He's IIM Lucknow alumni and 15 years of cross-sector experience in healthcare and marketing, and has previously held senior leadership roles at Fortis Hospital in Delhi and Mumbai. And finally, we have Kinjal Saxena, who's CTO of AIG Hospitals. We work very closely with Kinjal on a daily basis. He leads the hospital digital transformation initiatives at AIG. He has brought in a lot of AI-powered solutions to AIG, and brings vast experience from working at Lending Card, Amazon, and Oracle. So with deep experience in AI, I think we'll have a lot of thoughts and discussions today for the panel. So together, I think we have a great panel. Welcome to everyone. And all the panel members bring different perspectives that span from entrepreneurship to healthcare to innovation and AI. I think that is where our panel title is as well. And we want to get started. So, Mahat, probably I want to start with you. So seeing all the growth across the healthcare sector delivery, what do you see as the biggest driver? Why is it happening now? Is it the patient demands that have increased, or people are facing more health issues? Every hospital seems to be packed, right? It's like, if you go to any hospital at 10 o'clock in the morning, it's full, irrespective of which hospital you go. So what are the drivers for this?
Firstly, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Rajesh, I think it's a combination of factors, right? I think India is uniquely positioned considering, let's start with access. If you look back number of years, just access to healthcare across forget metro cities, tier 1 cities, tier 2 cities, and so on. I think there is greater access today. And we can talk about what's driving the access in a minute, but I think it starts with that. And that's continuing, right? And we've seen at least a couple of decades of that happening in the country. I think second one is really the disease burden growth, which is an unfortunate situation. NCD, non-communicable disease burden growth, is growing faster in India than many other parts of the world. Lifestyle diseases, oncology, and so on and so forth. I think that's definitely creating a demand for more infrastructure and service, and that's following through. I think third is really one where India significantly lags behind the rest of the world is insurance penetration, right? Actually, we lag behind several of the large countries on two things. One, insurance penetration, and second, the share of government spend in healthcare. So one, of course, greater penetration of private insurance is happening, but equally, there is a burden of care being moved from the state to the private sector, right? Which we are seeing happening secularly over the last several years with Ayushman Bharat and so on and so forth. The states are basically saying, hey, we'll spend X amount of our GDP on healthcare. You as a private sector figure out how to organize yourself to deliver the care and make money out of it, right? So I think that's again a big factor. I think several cities would not have had 100, 200, 300 bed hospitals if not for the state insurance spend. Because that just at least helps you have a basic infra in a particular city. I think that's another important driver. Probably the last, but not the least, is access to capital. I've been looking at this sector, and Kiran has been operating in this sector for so long, for like 20 years. 20 years back, I remember one of the hospitals in Hyderabad, we spent 6 months negotiating with a tiny individual investor for a 30 crore investment into a hospital chain, right? 6 months, multiple negotiations, lawyers, diligence, to get 30 crores into a chain. I'm talking pre-2005 time frames. From there to the billion and a half coming into the country. So clearly access to capital is a big driver. I just feel one of the blockages still for the country is access to good project finance. Because somehow healthcare is still not considered infrastructure in our country. Okay, it is considered a service. At least insofar as a hospital is concerned, it is infrastructure. So if you can get 10, 15, 20-year paper at 7, 8, 9% for solar farms and wind farms and so on and so forth, what hospitals have shown quite consistently over the last 20 years, once you operate a reasonable asset, now the ownerships can keep changing, as tends to happen in our country, but they continue to deliver, they continue to grow, and there's a basic level of cash flows that comes. So I think that can be a further unlocking of capital and therefore growth over the next few years. There's also a couple of sub-trends, and I'm happy to talk about it now or later with respect to consolidation. I think there's a lot's been written about consolidation in the healthcare industry and how that's fueling growth. I think there is I don't really like the word consolidation because I think it is more organization that's happening as opposed to consolidation, right? Because, one of the hospital boards I sit on, CARE, if you see our investments over the last 2-3 years and what we have planned for the next 2-3 years, 1,200 beds have been actually added, new beds, net new greenfield beds have been added or are being planned to be added in a 5-year period, okay, just with one institution. But it gets branded as consolidation, but really we're organizing it, standardizing the quality of care, standardizing processes, bringing tech, hopefully bringing AI in the future, we'll talk about it, but really adding capacity. And this 70 to 80% of this addition is actually happening in tier 2 locations. It is everywhere from Nagarkoils to Erodes to Vizag to Raipur to Ranchi. These are the cities that are seeing this capacity addition. No doubt, Hyderabad is a unique market. We have a new hospital coming up here every 6 months or 3 months. But keep that aside, majority of what you're seeing is actually in tier 2.
In this growth story, Mahad, one more follow-up question. Do you see any fundamental business models being changed?
So I think I would say it's very early days. The incumbent hospital operators are, I would say, hesitant/scared to change status quo business models. There's a lot of innovation on the periphery, right?
Okay.
It could be around doctor engagement models. It could be around using telemedicine a little bit better, radiology better, having centers of excellence and trying to do a hub and spoke model. There's sort of business process innovation on the periphery that's happening. But if you ask me, is there any path-breaking or fundamental attempt at innovation? So far, no. I think, hopefully, with what the other panelists have to offer, there's lots that we can talk about there.
Sure. Thank you, Mahad. Kiran, I'll just shift the focus to you. Oasis has grown. You said you have 35 centers now, and you started on your own. I think audience would love to hear, how it started for you as a journey to get into that specialized space of fertility, and how do you see the growth coming in going forward?
Thank you, Rajesh, for this opportunity. So, I think it's now 15 years since we started Oasis. 15 years ago, I'll just first give the context of typically fertility was a very, very nascent field at that point in time. So there were the gynecologists and the obstetricians who were doing their deliveries. They had their nursing home downstairs and their house upstairs, and then fertility was just an extension of practice. So this was about 2 or 3 centers in Hyderabad at that time. You could clearly see that it was a very, it's predominantly a science in terms of a bunch of steps that actually, that need to be done. And there was nothing at that point in time which was an organized practice. So that we saw it as an opportunity when we came in. And I'll just talk about just as an industry itself. So 15 years ago, it was 1 in 6 couples had some degree of infertility problem. Now, 1 in 4 by the latest WHO says that. And 65% of India's population is under the age of 35. So we see the size of the problem it is, So, and it's always been that there was more demand than what supply was in the early days. Now it is completely changed. Now it's a highly competitive field of where it is. But again, within this, the interesting sort of what we see now there is that we used to treat the Gen Xs before, where it was all about, the doctor's reputation, the reference that actually comes from the doctor. But now we see a lot of the millennials and the next Gen Zs who look at more standardized processes and setups and, brands where all of it is actually properly delivered in all the single specialties, not just IVF. I think even probably Sandeep would talk about it. But I see that within the single specialty segment, with centers or the places who have strong processes and standardized protocols and things which we will talk about it probably on the tech side will really win over a period of time, and there's a huge opportunity in the country.
Okay. So to your cue, what you just mentioned, that standardized processes, specialized processes. So how do you make that as your differentiating point when you're looking at growth, when you're trying to expand fast?
I think technology here, I'm a technologist at heart, so for me, I'll have that slight bias, but I could clearly see that being the biggest differentiator and the moat for us to scale. We do have a tech platform on which all these workflows are mapped, and that's pretty much has been the backbone for us to really scale to different places. And with that, the the feedback loops, the conversations with the doctors, everything else sort of falls in place. So it's more the workflow management that I would say, tech sort of comes as an enabler there. But that sort of process is where the biggest difference comes in for anybody who would want to actually scale the practices. So that's
So it's more like, customer engagement, because you need continuous engagement with the customer. They need to come back again and again, right? As part of the fertility. That's where you differentiate, and that's where you build the technology behind it.
Absolutely. I think that's one key element, obviously, on the how well we actually engage with the customer through the journey, but also how the fertility is teamwork. So even how the doctors interact with each other and how do they we do have different tools that help them ease their workload and their jobs as they go on. And that requires within fertility specifically, a lot of, clinical interventions too that come through technology and process.
Super. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I think to Sandeep, I think AINU has been received the investment now, and I think will be on the growth path very, very soon. So obviously, AIG is sitting next to you. So I just want to understand from you, from a multi-speciality versus single speciality hospital, how do you want to differentiate, or how do you think the market perceives you, or market growth for you that exists?
So thank you so much, Rajesh. So yeah, I think that is that's kind of an interesting question, because the space in which AINU operates is traditionally, so urology, nephrology still largely, or I would say significantly exists within the multi-speciality ecosystem only. We are one of the very, very few players who are doing single speciality urology, nephrology care in a comprehensive manner. So we do everything from dialysis to transplants and robotic surgeries. So there are players who do only dialysis, there are people who only do stone, but comprehensively, this is kind of a space that we are, exploring now. We've had significant success in this space, but yes, there are some comparisons that naturally come up when it comes to, why a single specialty versus a multi-specialty. The way I see it, one of the biggest differentiators we are able to kind of display to the patients is in the focus that we bring to the specialty. So because we are able to live and breathe urology, nephrology, that becomes what our entire ecosystem is about. We typically say that dialysis is one of the toughest patient base to handle when it comes to hospital operations. A patient typically undergoes maybe 100 dialysis a year. So they pretty much figure out the ecosystem day in, day out. For them, they become part of the hospital. Hospital staff just sees a dialysis patient, they come, they go by themselves. So they are probably given the least amount of attention when you see. But in our ecosystem, what we try to do is try to make every single dialysis session for them like it is the first time they're coming into the hospital, or it's the first consultation.
Sure.
So while we kind of claim to have the focus, making sure that the patient knows that and feels that becomes very important. AIG was one of the pioneers of single specialty actually. Now they've moved to multi, but they also kind of had this whole ecosystem built around gastroenterology and a center of excellence. So similarly, AINU also kind of is building this ecosystem about a center of excellence. And now our flagship hospital in Hyderabad, so now we are doing multi-speciality urology services. So we've broken down urology into 9 different specialties. So from a consumer point of view, from a patient point of view, we want to make sure that they know that we are just not the run-of-the-mill urology service that you get. In a multi-speciality, any department like us, even single specialty or any single specialty is just one of 17, 18 different departments in a multi-speciality. Here we try to kind of bring that focus, clinical excellence, patient centricity, all dedicated around one cohort of patients. So your nursing cohorts, your nursing is also that much more tuned to handle a renal care patient because it's cohorted in that sense. So I think there is a lot of advantages here. And I think more from an investor point of view, since you spoke about TPG investment, what we are seeing is that we are able to give faster returns in smaller boxes. Right? So that also matters. So we are able to scale up operations, or at least we are able to show value in scaling up operations in single specialty much, much faster. Because yes, like Mahad alluded to before, there is a disease burden that's increasing in India. There is a lot of need for quality healthcare services. Access is a challenge, and it's really not possible to go put up 200, 300 bedded hospitals in every part of the country. Well, that is the endeavor, but it's really not possible sometimes, right? Because there is sometimes a talent dearth. But what single specialty enables is, for that specialty, that talent is all you need. And then you can kind of move faster, quicker, scale up, and build truly national level platforms which can actually interact with each other. We have patients from our Siliguri center being referred to my Hyderabad center because there's no robotic surgery in Siliguri. So we are able to kind of give that value to the patients also. So you walk into an AINU, any part of the country, you still have access to the full suite of services that are there to be offered.
Sure. So as you are going to scale, do you see technology playing a very big role, or and also expansion into tier 2, tier 3 cities, right? So
Yeah, I think absolutely right. So technology, traditionally we've always health tech has been med tech. Investing in technology meant buying a new robot or buying a new 3 Tesla MRI or investing. Yes, those do give a lot of advantages in terms of patient care. But I think right now a lot of us are now focused on patient focused technology and not just med tech. So enabling smoother operations, enabling more patient efficiency, enabling clinical efficiency, like Kiran was saying, how do doctors interact with each other? End of the day, all of this leads to patient satisfaction because we want to make sure that not only are patients treated well, but they also have a wholesome, consummately thorough, valuable experience. So there is a lot of technological investment now that we do in terms of our operations and patient-facing operations. Right from managing patient flows in the OPDs to queue managements to allocation of our OTs to ensure that the waiting time for the patients is lesser. So I think that is an area where we can bring in a lot more efficiency and helps us also, move faster, scale up faster.
sure, yeah, thank you. So to transitioning to Kinjal, I know we worked very closely and we have implemented some of those operational efficiency improvements. So just wanted to hear your thoughts on how AIG is looking at growth, one. Second, operational efficiencies, what you guys have done. And maybe third, following up to that is really the challenges as a large hospital. What are you seeing and what can be done? Because that's where I think most of the people want to start companies to solve some of those challenges, right?
Sure. Thanks, Rajesh. First of all, I'll take the growth question. From a growth perspective, AIG Hospitals has been predominantly in Hyderabad, but now we are expanding to other geographies as well. Going to Delhi and other places as well, which will very soon be in the news. The second, and with this growth, we are also expanding into multiple towers within Hyderabad itself, with getting very, very specialized into oncology, cardiology, and other spaces as well. Getting to operational efficiency and other technology, we try to, as we work closely, we try to keep things very, very simple. We don't, for example, in a setup of healthcare, there is predominantly a patient, a doctor, nurse, or a technician, and then there is the whole business aspect of it, right? So, for patient, most people think that, okay, let's give them a mobile app where they can view their reports and the job is done. If we want to really simplify it for the patients, we have to give them technology which is not just for one hospital. How we are solving the problem for them is we are giving them the tech, whether not just AIG hospitals, but anywhere they have gotten a reporting done or a prescription done. Now we are making it one-stop shop where everything gets uploaded. Now, even if they want to go out of AIG, maybe want to go to AINU or any other hospital, they have their entire data ready with them. So that's one aspect of it, like a health wallet, just making it life easy for patients. The second aspect is the business in itself, and as we have together done the work, is tracking the patients for resource optimization, using operation theaters better. Because even if you are able to increase one surgery a day, that is quite significant for a hospital. And I think that's what we are doing together with IoT-based trackers, where patients come in, come out, and we are able to improve efficiency on. The third and the most important aspect, I guess, which is quite overlooked in the industry, is the fatigue of doctors, nurses, and technicians. See, healthcare is a highly manual dependent industry. Every single aspect is dependent on humans. And you can't take them out. Even with so many AI you put, you really cannot take it out. But what you can truly do is reduce their fatigue. So, one simple example we have done is we have built a multilingual ambient listening solution. So, normally, about 10 years back, what used to happen is a doctor and a patient used to have a normal conversation with eye to eye contact with each other. But now, if you go to a hospital, the doctors are just writing or typing on a computer because they want to enter the entire data in the EMR. Now, with this ambient listening solution, two things happen. Number one, the doctors and patients' eye contact is coming back. Now they are truly looking at the patient and talking to them, which gives a sense of assurance. The second thing that is happening is no more typing, because believe it or not, most doctors type with two fingers. They are not good at typing. So, with this, a lot of fatigue is coming down for the doctors. Similarly, for radiologists, things are coming down. And similarly, now we are trying to build that for nurses as well. The importance or the benefit of reducing this fatigue is, again, it improves operational efficiency, but it also improves clinical accuracy. Because at the end, if they are less tired, they will be providing much better care. So that and challenge to all these adoptions is truly that all the clinicians or periclinical staff, they are used to doing the work in a certain way. They come in the morning, they do something certain way. They're just used to it. Now, bringing technology in, bringing a mic in the center of the room, which is listening to everything, does change a lot of things for them. And that adoption is the challenge.
Sure. Yeah, thanks, Kinjal. I think there is a uniform theme here, right? So there is growth in the industry. Patients, I think the demand is high. I think lifestyle changes are coming in, and there's a lot of structural changes from private equity side coming in. So there is growth in the hospitals. Beds are increasing, and health. I think the common theme that I understand is technology is the way to go, and technology obviously is the way to scale to help companies scale as well. So just want to touch upon one small thing. Okay, technology is important. Given having we working for the last 3 years with healthcare, the biggest challenge is data. It is extremely hard to get access to data. So how do we solve that problem? How do we, the data is not standardized. The data is not uniform across different software vendors. And data is not stored properly because, as you said, doctors don't feel like entering all the data or the nurses entering the data. So how do we solve some of these challenges? Maybe we can start with Kinjal and then...
So, very aptly pointed. The only thing is, while the data is not standardized, but the aspects of the data are always standardized. For an example, if you go to any doctor, no matter what they write, they will be writing the data into 4 or 5 segments only. What is your problem? What is the medicine? What is the test you want to write? And what is the plan of care that you should be doing? That's it.
Sure.
Right? So, I think that is where AI is going to play a larger role, and we are working on it, as you know. And this is for the startups as well, that if you are building a solution which can simply maybe just take a picture of the paper and fills that data and standardizes it quickly, rather than building very fancy solutions of getting in SNOMED, etc., etc. Just simplistic solutions which standardize the data the moment it is done. And if that is done, then everything is set at the source itself.
Correct. Yep. Thank you. Maybe based on that AI, I think that we are entering, because the topic also needs AI. So, to Mahad, how do we, in your experience, either whether it is an AI problem or a data problem that is solved specifically for the healthcare side, can you highlight, because you will be listening to a lot of startup pitches, a lot of people approaching you, any things that caught your eye on how AI is coming into healthcare, and maybe some success stories or some failure stories as well?
Sure, Rajat. I think firstly, I think it's probably too early to talk about failures. I feel because lots has to be tried over the coming years. I think there are a number of good examples, right? In the US in particular, and even in India. So you have Tempus, you have Cure.ai. Closer to home, there is Visa. I think what's important to understand is where are they operating, right? Because there is a patient-centric, Kinjan was talking about, patient-centric data capture and response, right? How do you use AI for that? There is an internal four walls usage of AI, which is how do I use AI or data capture and therefore AI on top of it to improve my operations better, right? Nursing response times, nursing staffing, where should I staff better, and so on and so forth. And there are companies which we're looking at which are using image capture, right, for example, to smoothen the operations within the four walls of hospitals. So there is a lot of solutions going after the four walls. Then, of course, there is an aggregate level sort of usage of tools, which is for more directional, right? New drug discovery, precision medicine. What should we be looking at to, and that's kind of cross between aggregate as well as the patient level. How do I use that information to bring something different to the patient which doesn't exist today, right? Crunching the time, and I'm going beyond healthcare into pharma, but crunching the timeline required for drug development, doing clinical trials more effectively, taking the patient out of the equation and the clinical trials till the last stage. So all of these are, we're seeing a lot of solutions around all of this. So I think there are names I mentioned are some interesting ones. But I think what would I feel drive success or failure is a clear focus of the entrepreneur on, are you a B2C business? Are you trying to address, so Visa, for example, started by saying, hey, I'm a mental health companion for you. Are you a geriatric care companion? So that's very B2C. Is that the problem you're trying to solve? Or are you an adjunct to what's happening within a hospital, right? I mean, are you bringing the clinician on board with you and supporting? I think Kinjan mentioned a little bit, is it a co-pilot model? So on and so forth. So I think that is what I feel will drive success. Of course, the data problem is a problem across industries, honestly, and healthcare it's amplified purely because we've been 10 to 20 years behind all other industries on tech adoption. Okay, so I think that's where I see AI going in the industry. So.
Sure, thank you. So to Kiran, follow-up question. So obviously, at least what we see is everybody wants to get into AI bandwagon. Any solution that comes up most likely are using an LLM model today, and SLMs are far away. They'll take time. Every company has to invest time and energy. So the value add that comes in will come at a high cost, especially when you're using an AI solution. So you're a tech person. You said you're also trying to do tech within, Oasis. So how do you see this? Because a lot of startups, I'm pretty sure, will be building AI solutions on LLM to start with. Then if it's successful, then they'll try to get to SLM. So are hospitals also willing to spend that extra money and work with the startups in, taking these expensive solutions?
I think it's a great question, Rajesh. I think first to start with, there are far and few institutions where in the first place the data is clean or the data is available. I think first capturing of data, just say we call it digitization, then standardization, Then we would look at maybe automating the data, doing some predictable analysis and all, and that's when the fourth ingredient of AI would come in. So it's very, very early days. I think the people who are doing it, let's say, AIG, for instance, we guys are doing a lot of work with that. We'll have that clear advantage. So the two parts that Mahat talked about, one would be on the patient side, whatever the solutions on AI that would come. The other ones are within the four walls. So I'll give a couple of examples of the AI applications that we are doing. Based on all the past information that we have for specific parameters for the male and the female, for instance, we're able to actually get to a certain prediction whether the probability of them having a child, for instance. That's one use case, which is, as an algorithm, it's actually working quite well. Will this solution be able to be taken and then straight applied at other places? I think there is a huge resistance for. So that challenge we have in a lot of other smaller places, but that is changing.
Sure.
What I think in this case is it's not necessarily AI replacing doctors first, but doctors who don't use AI will be replaced by the doctors who use them, and I think that's getting there in the next 3-4 years.
They're talking about nudges to the doctor, right?
Yeah. So we call them, let's say you either call it decision support system, decision orchestration system, and things like that. But the other one, which we see a lot of, I think, applications that have started to come because it's an easy plugin, is on the image processing side. So for us, we are now able to rank and grade the embryos that would need to be transplanted in terms of how, which is the best embryo that will give the best possible outcome. So that sort of as a use case has worked very well. So these two, I can clearly see them working.
So you have adopted. You're already taking it to the next level. That's a great story to hear. Thank you.
Yeah.
So Sandeep, from AI point, is there any specific use cases that you're looking at from AI adoption?
So, clinically, I think similar to what Kiran has spoken about, right? So there are a lot of specific advantages that AI gives, especially when you're looking at, very focused kind of a solution that you need. Like for embryos, like for us, kidney stone analysis, right? So we have an AI-enabled tool which is integrated with our ultrasound machine. So ultrasound generally just gives you an information that what is the stone and what's the size. But the tool now is also able to give us the nature of the stone, the location, the composition. So that helps us make a better decision as to what procedure is needed to extract that stone. There are A, B, C, D, E, which is the most suitable. Before you had to do another procedure slightly invasive procedure to find that out. Now that is cut down.
Sure.
So there is benefits that are coming specifically into it, but I think as we go along, there is a lot more that can kind of be extracted from a value perspective, where not just help in decision making, but also where AI can actually help us, I would say, grow. In terms of what more can we offer, what more can we offer to the patient, what benefits can we get as an organization to keep the services, the scope of services growing. I think growth-based initiatives are still yet to come in. A lot of it right now is more decision support and efficiency-based. I think so. That's the next thing we are looking forward to.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. So Kinjal, I know AIG has launched successfully many AI initiatives. Can you talk about at least one use case which has been very successful, either in the gastro area or other areas, that clinical AI side?
Clinical AI. So we are right now in validation phase because clinical aspects, the biggest problem is we just cannot use them. We will have to wrap them up into, as Kiran rightly said, in some shape and form of CDSS, which is clinical decision support systems. So the most effective one that we have right now is the ambient listening one. We have already done about 150,000 plus prescriptions on that already. So it is also, and it can listen to, it adapts to 14 languages, all relevant dialects of India. So it is, and we are working with best of the LLMs as well. So that's definitely one most important. The other aspect of developing and using AI in clinical is we have to be very careful about the intellectual property, especially patents. I'll give you a very interesting example. We have built a large AI application in clinical, which is identification of liver diseases with just simple blood markers. Ideally, it can only be found with a fibroscan, which is a very costly test. But with a basic blood test, we are able to screen high risk liver patients. So we have developed the algorithm, trained over 40,000, tested, validated over 15,000, all great. When we went to try filing a patent for it, we found that one of the top hospitals in the world has just filed a defensive patent on the same term. Now, what it does is it actually prevents even our freedom to use our own solution. So, it is extremely important for all of us, especially when we are building it in India, to file patents so that at least if we are not licensing, at least we will have freedom to use our own technologies.
Correct. Yeah. I think that's a wonderful point, Kinjal. I think a lot of startups are working on many interesting ideas. So keeping that in mind about patent, how do you defend your patent? I think that has to start very early on, especially if you are focused on healthcare. So I think in the interest of time, I want to pause a little bit and ask a simple question. If you want to look into the future for the next 3 to 5 years, where do startups focus on? Because getting and working with a hospital is a tough journey. It is not that easy. Long gestation cycles, investment from team and effort have to be there to build the relationships. So just a minute from each one. Where should you focus? How should startups focus on? What are the areas they should focus on? What are the things they need to be careful? Any of those things?
Yeah, before actually coming to the startups, I think one most important thing is hospitals should spend a little more on these things. So that's investors would disagree with me, but it's
starts
time.
with you, Kiran.
It's time. No, we do it, and we can clearly see that being an advantage. I don't know how many people in the audience are from the hospital sector, but significant spend on technology will make a big difference. And I think startups are doing some really good work within this space. You know, they're really trying to solve genuine problems, but it's only the adaptation within this is where the issue is coming from. But if I have to say, first thing, if there are clear pilots or use cases that they can demonstrate, show in how quickly they can clean the data and then show their outcomes. We had an example of someone coming who was, so we have this call center where we interact with patients. So recording those from those conversations to improve the efficiency of how the call center executive will speak to the patient. There's been an AI solution which has improved it by about 20% in terms of our patient's response rate. Things like that, if they can be demonstrated in say a week's time, it shouldn't be too complicated. It should be quite simple. Just coming there, okay, this is your data. This is what I'm going to show you. That will make a big difference.
Sure.
So that's one of the points.
I'm actually going to go slightly longer time horizon because I think there's a lot of companies which are working for the next 3 to 5 year solves. But I think if you take disease burden, which is less understood, if you take anything neurodegenerative diseases, any of that, right? I just feel once the data part is sorted, there's lots that can be done which can be truly transformative in the sense that it's not additive, but it's be truly transformative, right? As an investor, I would like to see the additive side so that I can see the profit improvement or revenue improvement and make an exit and get out. But I think from an industry point of view, I would like to see people working on transformative ideas. And for the short term, I think as entrepreneurs, it would be better to focus on agentic AI solutions, it could be call center, it could be nursing stations, it could be ICU management. I mean, there's tons that can be done, which hospitals are not spending time on, subject to them willing to spend more money, but less on some of the data intensive and generative side, because that will take longer. The data buildup will take longer.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay. So I'm going to take a little bit of a operations point of view here, right? As a hospital operator, right? As somebody who spends time on the floors. A lot of challenges from a tech point of view that we have is that we have a lot of systems, a lot of technologies deployed that make life a little difficult for the users. We have different users from different backgrounds, right? We have nurses, we have doctors, we have front office staff, we have service staff, we have security staff, we have managers, we have marketing staff, we have sales staff. All of them come from very different backgrounds, very different experiences, very different kind of roles they have to play. So we end up deploying technology that is kind of for one process for one person, and a lot of them don't talk to each other. And then we tend, okay, fine, I want to see your answers. Then I say, okay, I'll build a data lake. You come up with solutions that sit on top of solutions that sit on top of solutions. So over time, we end up with a very complicated network of technologies that we've deployed. And then somebody says, let's overhaul, and you start again. So it's not a very efficient cycle that we have right now. So if somebody would come to me as an entrepreneur saying, this is what I can do, the more the use cases, the better. The more it can be integrated into everyday operations, the easier it is for adoption, and even as an administrator, easier for me to just greenlight it and try it out, right? Because I have a nurse, a doctor, a marketing manager, a front office staff, a radiology tech, all of them use it. More value than, say, only one person in the department uses it. So I would like to see maybe multi-departmental solutions which can actually maybe flow through or integrate with my HIS in general or my ERP in general. I think that's something that will definitely, it's a lot of value to me.
Sure. Thank you.
It's a very interesting question. I've been in multiple industries. So the reason why a lot of startups fail, and I'll be a little bold here, a lot of startups fail in healthcare is because engineers are building solutions for doctors. When they build the solution, they take to doctors, and doctors say, I don't need it. Step one for every startup, and this is practically we are doing it, that's why probably we have been able to get 1 or 2 initial successes, is if you have an idea, please go to the doctor, go to the nurse, go to the CXOs of the company, operations staff of the company, ask them, if I build this, will you use it? Or if you don't have an idea, just spend time with them and ask for an idea. Because only those solutions will work. And as Mahad also said, the ideas are not very complex. It's all out there, hundreds of them. So just please talk to your stakeholders first and then build the solutions.
Sure. On the same point, Kinjal, I just want to bring up, there is an ecosystem in Hyderabad, right? Especially for a lot of startups here in Hyderabad. I know that, AIG has partnered with ISB, IIT Bombay. I'm pretty sure you're tied up with some universities. So can you highlight just, what's the partnership about? And if a startup wants to work within that ecosystem, how can they be part of it?
Of course.
And I'm sure TiE is also a part of it, but...
Yes, TiE is part of it. So the reason why in West, whether it is Oxford, whether it is Stanford, Harvard, you name it, why you get successful solutions or startups spin-offs out of those places? Because there is a hospital and an engineering college in the same campus, or just in the next building or on the same street. Take example of Harvard. Harvard and Massachusetts General are on the same street. They share the same leadership. So they get to understand, experiment, and also build the solutions with the stakeholders very easily. This is an ecosystem which is missing in India, unfortunately. So what we at AIG have tried to do is we got with ISB and we got with IIIT. We said ISB will teach what to do, teach the doctors how to think about technology. They will get the ideas. Now we will take these projects, give it to IIIT as the thesis projects. Now everybody is trying to work in an ecosystem. Although these three large institutes, separate large institutes, but trying to work together. we have been able to generate 2 solutions, and we are working on 2 more groundbreaking solutions, which will be patented, which are like, they're patent filed, and they will also be getting FDA de novo, which means an innovation as well. So these are some of the things. If we are able to build this ecosystem, I think it will be very effective.
Sure. Yeah, I think thanks everyone for the wonderful thoughts and inspiring thoughts. I'm sure a lot of startups learned quite a bit today about healthcare sector and how, some of the solutions they can focus on. Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for your time. Thank you.